Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Businessmen and residents of a Runaway Bay community in St. Ann at odds over Operation Nuisance. Scores of people staged a protest at the Little Dunn's River in Otre, St. Ann over its closure. And later in sports, reggae girls to play Paraguay in 2 friendly internationals on home soil next month. I'm Shane Masters and here are the details. Discussions are now taking place within government on the implications that the change in status of private security guards will have on the operations of ministries, departments and agencies. Details in this report. The Jamaica Society for Industrial Security met last week with Prime Minister Andrew Holness and the Ministers of National Security, Finance and Labour to outline the challenges that security companies will face in meeting their payroll and proposals to soften the effect. The JSIS has indicated that the cost of security services has increased by almost 50% since the court ruled that private security guards are employees and not independent contractors. President of JSIS, Lieutenant Commander George Overton, said the group is now awaiting a response from the government.
Last week, Tuesday, we had a meeting with the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance, Minister of National Security and Minister of Labour, where we put the impact of the ruling on the table, and we had discussions around it and what the consequence could be to the market and to the government, and they were going to look at it, and so far they have not come back to us with a position from the government, nor have they come out with a policy position as to how this ruling has impacted the industry and what is the standard that will be upheld from here going forward.
He says renegotiations are ongoing with a number of companies.
Some of the companies have started negotiations. Some have sent notifications sensitizing to the impact of the change and are now getting ready to get into the one-on-one discussions on it. It is a very lengthy process, but the clock has been running on us since the 23rd of September. There are some who understand. They haven't committed that, yes, we are willing to embrace this cost. They're looking and not trying to understand their options.
Meanwhile, the parliamentary opposition is calling for the government to indicate a timeline as to when it will honour its financial obligations to security companies. Now, there is concern that several government ministries, departments and agencies might soon be without private security guards if the government fails to pay outstanding sums to security companies. Government comprises 65% of business clients for security companies. Now, at a media briefing last Friday, the Jamaica Society for Industrial Security indicated that the cost of security services has increased by almost 50% since the court ruled that private security guards are employees and not independent contractors. The group says some companies will find it difficult to meet their payroll going forward. Now, in an interview with our news centre, opposition spokesman on finance, Julian Robinson, said the government should not allow the matter to be drawn out.
I'm aware that a number of these companies are owed millions of dollars by the government. I think it's going to be important for the government to indicate a time frame within which it can settle the outstanding amounts that are owed to the private companies so that they can honor their obligations to their workers. And by indicating that time frame, then the companies will be in a better position to indicate when they can comply with the ruling. So I think it's going to be important for the ministries, agencies and departments that use the private security firms to work out a schedule and give that information to the private companies so that they can know that they can implement the new ruling that the court did in relation to how security guards should be treated.
On September 23, the Supreme Court ruled in a matter of the National Housing Trust versus Marksman Limited that guards engaged by security companies to provide third-party services are not employees and not independent contractors. The ruling is applicable to all private security companies that engage security officers as independent contractors. Tension is brewing between residents of a Runaway Bay community in St. Ann and a businessman who started operating in the community a few years ago. The residents say the operation is a nuisance. Something needs to be done urgently. The call from residents of Seaview Way in Runaway Bay, St. Anne, over a business operation which has been in the area since 2018. According to the residents, since the establishment, it has been a nuisance to the community.
It is a commercialized business in a residential area. And as early as 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. in the mornings, they are open for business. The door of the container makes a lot of noise. And this area, this stretch of road, would have a lot of persons with underlying illnesses. And so as a result, when it comes on to noise, being retirees, it is very disturbing.
They said the matter was reported to the municipal corporation in 2018, but nothing was done.
From that time, we have not gotten any answers as to why the container is there. We would have exhausted all the means necessary to have it removed, but for some reason, we have gotten no response, no positive response from the parish council.
That claim, however, is being denied by its chairman. Chairman of the corporation, Sidney Stewart, says when the matter was brought to the attention of the corporation, a team was sent to investigate.
A team had looked at it and served notices for operation to cease. A little surprised that it's coming back up as a concern to the resident that is still being operated.
He says further investigations will now be carried out at the premises.
I'm going to try and make every effort to join the team going there, if not this weekend, during the course of next week, to take a look to ensure that what the residents are saying is true. If it's still being operated, it is being operated outside of the violation of the condition that we laid down and the notice that we had served.
Scores of people staged a protest at the Little Dunn's River in Ocho St. Anne this morning. It follows the recent closure of the property by the St. Anne police because of a murder which was committed on August 27. The police reported that the popular attraction was being operated by thugs. The police at that time renewed calls for the Urban Development Corporation, UDC, to intervene as permanent structures were being set up on the property, fueling the disorder. However, on Monday, the Ministers Fraternal of Ocho Rios issued a call for the UDC to reopen the property. It says Little Dunn's River served numerous purposes to the people of Ocho Rios and surrounding communities. They say this is the second time in recent years that the property has been closed, but nothing has been done.
One of the problems that we have in Jamaica is that things are one-sided. One set of people talk and you just listen, right? We don't want it to be that way. We want it to be where someone can speak on behalf of those who cannot speak. So we are willing to make the fraternity become the voice.
Former Education Minister Royal Reid, Caribbean Maritime University President Fritz Pinnock, and their co-accused in the CMU Education Ministry corruption case are to return to court on January 9. The mentioned date was set this morning when the 5 accused appeared in the St. Andrew Parish Court. The other 3 accused in the case are Mr. Reid's wife, Sharon, their daughter, Cheryl, and Councillor for the Brownstown Division, Kim Brown Lawrence. When the matter was called, attorney Hugh Small, who is prosecuting the matter for the Financial Investigations Division, FID on Fiat, notified the court that a hearing for judicial review has been set for February 6 and 7. Mr. Small also told the court that leave have been granted to go to the Court of Appeal in relation to the stay order. The High Court has ordered that the corruption case against former Minister Reid and Mr. Pinnock and their co-accused be put on hold pending a judicial review of Chief Parish Judge Chester Crooks ruling not to dismiss the charges and to proceed to trial. Judge Crooks, who later recused himself from the matter, claiming there was a conflict of interest as he attended Monroe College while Reid was a head boy. Now, heavy rains from the outer bands of Hurricane Ian last week have resulted in the collapse of a drain in Portmore, St. Catherine. Mayor of Portmore, Leon Thomas, is now calling on the National Works Agency, NWA, to act swiftly in helping to repair the damaged wall, which is creating a threat to the nearby Waterford High School.
Some work is being done in the drain right now, right? So we visit it, we look at it, but schools still continue, right? I know that they are using the classroom, right? It might look safe for now, but when I look at what is happening there, we have a lot of soil erosion taking place. So little by little, it's going closer and closer up to that classroom.
He added that there are other collapsed drains in the municipality that need repairs and that the drains are crowded with overgrown vegetation. Mr. Thomas says the municipal corporation is waiting on outstanding funds for these works, but they are also waiting on the minister to make an allocation for drain cleaning.
We need to repair the collapse wall, because if we don't repair these collapse walls soon, and we should have any other hurricane or other major rainfall, we will in serious trouble in Portmore. So I'm appealing to the minister to look at our situation and see how best he can assist us.
And it's now time for the Business Minute. Here's Cody and Barrett.
In the world of business, Deputy Commissioner of Operations at Jamaica Customs Agency, JCA, Marlon Lowe, says work is being undertaken to incorporate drones and canine detection in JCA's border security strategy by 2025. Both programs are now said to be in the startup phase and form a part of efforts by the agency to broaden non-intrusive inspection tactics when interacting with stakeholders at both sea and airports. The drone program is expected to assist with controlling the trafficking of contraband. In business internationally, the UK government has U-turned on plans to scrap the 45% rate of income tax for people earning more than £150,000 a year. Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng says the proposal had become a massive distraction on what was a strong package. The decision, which marks a humiliating climb down for Prime Minister Liz Truss, comes after several Tory MPs criticised the plan. That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And it's now time for our top regional and international stories.
In the region, Haiti has confirmed that at least 8 people have died from cholera since Friday. This comes 3 weeks after the United Nations had confirmed an outbreak of the waterborne disease in the French-speaking Caribbean community country. According to the country's Ministry of Health, all the deaths so far have been amongst people living in the metropolitan area of Port-au-Prince. The United Nations is actively monitoring the situation and is working with the government to mount an emergency response to this potential outbreak. On the international scene, there are growing calls for accountability in Indonesia over Saturday's deadly stadium disaster. At least 125 people were killed and more than 300 injured when chaos and violence erupted after a football match. Indonesian authorities have opened an investigation into the police use of tear gas on the crowds. The club president of the home team says he's ready to take full responsibility for the incident. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Shane Masters. Join us at 7 for Prime Time News. On behalf of the news, sports, and production teams, have a good afternoon.